The gross rent multiplier is a fundamental concept for the national portion of the real estate exam used to estimate the value of smaller income-producing properties, like single-family homes or duplexes. When you see a question about the gross rent multiplier, often abbreviated as GRM, the first thing you must do is focus on the word gross. This is the biggest differentiator from other valuation methods like the capitalization rate. While the capitalization rate relies on net operating income, which is calculated after expenses are paid, the multiplier is a much simpler calculation that looks strictly at the total income before any costs are subtracted. To calculate the multiplier, you take the sales price of a property and divide it by the gross annual rental income. For instance, if a property sold for $300,000 and generated $30,000 in annual rent, the multiplier is exactly 10. On the exam, you might be asked to find the value of a subject property using this specific factor. If the exam tells you that comparable properties in a neighborhood have an average multiplier of 9 and your subject property generates $40,000 in annual rent, you simply multiply 9 by 40,000 to arrive at a value estimate of $360,000. One of the most common traps set by exam writers involves the distinction between monthly and annual figures. For residential properties, it is extremely common for the multiplier to be based on monthly rent rather than annual rent. If the question asks for a value based on a monthly multiplier, you must ensure your rent figure is also monthly. If you are given an annual rent and a monthly multiplier, you must divide that annual rent by 12 before performing your multiplication. Conversely, if you are given a monthly rent and an annual multiplier, you must multiply the monthly rent by 12 first. Forgetting to sync these time frames is a guaranteed way to pick the wrong multiple choice answer. Another trick to watch out for is the inclusion of unnecessary data in the word problem. The exam might provide the property taxes, the insurance costs, and the maintenance fees to see if you will try to calculate the net income. In a gross rent multiplier problem, these numbers are total distractors. You must ignore them entirely because the multiplier ignores the operating expenses of the property. This is why the multiplier is considered a rougher estimate than the income capitalization approach. It does not account for the fact that one property might have much higher utility costs or taxes than another. From an investment perspective, remember that a lower multiplier is generally more attractive to a buyer. A lower number means the purchase price is a smaller multiple of the income, suggesting it might take less time for the gross rents to cover the initial investment. If you are comparing two properties and property A has a multiplier of 8, while property B has a multiplier of 12, property A is essentially cheaper relative to the income it produces. To keep the math straight in your head during the stress of the exam, use the phrase gross income multiplied makes estimate. This simple mnemonic reminds you that the gross income is the starting point, the multiplier is the tool, and the result is a value estimate. You should also be prepared for the exam to ask about the gross income multiplier, or GIM, which is typically used for larger commercial or industrial properties and includes income from sources other than just rent, such as laundry machines or parking fees. However, for the residential portions of the exam, the focus will almost always stay on the gross rent multiplier and its relationship to rental income. If you can stay focused on the word gross and keep your monthly and annual units consistent, you will navigate these math and theory questions with ease.